What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Hollywood Hangouts. I'm your host, movie producer, Nerdy Dustin. I'm here with two very special people, Alex Javo and Angelina Buzzelli. These two are amazing actors and actresses. They've got their new movie coming out, Ambrogio, the first vampire. Alex sent me the trailer the other day, and it looks fantastic. Now, you actually told me about this idea for this movie like 3 years ago.
Yes.
And here it is. It's done. Like it's in the can. It's about to premiere. Uh what was it like to finally make this happen?
To make it happen, I mean, it really feels great. It's such a weight off our shoulders. I mean, it took a year and a half to make. I was pitching the idea, to you and some others, and finally, got down to writing the feature length back in September 2023. I had heard about the story of Ambrosio, the Greek mythology story. Back in 2019, and did a short film with my mom because at the time I didn't know anything about cameras or lighting or sound, and I just felt like I was being called to play this guy. I just read this myth. At the time, I was obsessing over Vampire Diaries and other vampire content and was like, man, I had to do it. So I did it with my mom. Fast forward years later, I met a lot of great people, cast, crew, being a working actor. And a buddy of mine, we were watching vampire films like Renfield and Last Voyage of the Demeter that came out, and he was the one that encouraged me to go back to Ambrosio. I showed him the short film, and I was telling him about how bad it was, and because at the time I didn't know anything about sound or whatever, and he was like, "It's not that bad, but you should go back to this thing. There's a lot of potential here." So he helped me. His name's Johnny Ray. He helped me, kind of flesh out the story. Given what mistakes I learned from during the first time. Yeah, and then we came up with the story with Matt Tangeman, and we got Taz Lake to write the screenplay with me, and yeah, we just jumped into production. It's been a great ride.
That's so awesome. Now, Angela, you're also part of the cast of this, correct?
Yes,
So who do you play? Can you tell us who you play? It's not a
I
mystery.
can. I can. So I play Sarah Paulos, amongst one other character. And Sarah serves as the love interest in this story. And it was a really unique part to dive into, primarily because she's supposed to be this long lost descendant that comes from the same time as Ambrosio. So now thousands of years have passed. So though it's the story of the first vampire and is tied back to Greek mythology, the majority of the film takes place in modern day. So he's now been around for millennia and now is living in a world with cell phones and surveillance and trying to hide who he is just to survive without people showing up with pitchforks to try to take him out. And Sarah, coincidentally, not so coincidentally, is a historian who is pursuing her master's degree and is absolutely fascinated by this story of the first vampire. So when we meet her, she's writing a research paper about Ambrosio, not knowing that a few short days later she would be running into him. And it was it was really fun to play, because I'm a very curious person. So I found a lot of similarities that I could latch onto between Sarah and myself. Should I talk about Celine, or do you want to talk more about like the myth and how it all plays into the story?
You can talk about Celine.
Okay. So the original myth, in case you're not familiar with it at all, because I know I wasn't. I knew nothing about this
I
story
love about it
before
too.
I
No
was
one's
here.
knows about him. I
Yeah.
loved it. It was perfect.
So Ambrogio was an Italian military tribune back in
It's the Marcus Aurelius
yeah.
kind of period gladiator. It's like an Interview with a Vampire meets The Notebook meets Gladiator. It's to put it,
So he is tasked to journey to Greece to visit the Oracle of Delphi and get his not only his fortune, but the fortune for Rome and for their military exploits.
Little different than the myth, but yeah.
There were the myth inspired this film.
For
The
sure.
film is not the myth. That's just where the story was derived from. So
Pretty close though.
Yeah,
it's like
pretty close. So Ambrogio goes to Greece and comes across this young woman named Celine and is immediately taken by her, and they fall in love. But unbeknownst to Ambrogio, she is essentially a slave of Apollo, the sun god. And Apollo's saying, there's going to be none of that. She's mine. You can't have her. And he curses Ambrogio to not be able to be in the light of the sun. So that's where that trait of vampires supposedly derives from, not being able to be in the sunlight because they're cursed by Apollo.
There you go. It's got to start somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chicken or the egg when it comes to vampires.
It definitely looks good. Y'all can check out the trailer currently on YouTube. I'll link it below. And this comes out it's soon, right? This month, right? March?
March 11th, yes.
Where are people gonna be able to see this?
You can see this on Amazon for either digital or DVD. It'll be available Walmart online for DVD. It'll be available on Fandango, Vudu, Vimeo OTT, and March 11th.
So y'all are definitely gonna be able to see this March 11th. Check mark calendars. This sounds fantastic. I can't wait for this. I've been waiting 3 years for this. So off of the trailer, the costumes look fantastic. I love the accents. I love there's action in this. There's love in this. There's this. It seems like this movie has a little bit of everything in it.
That's what we loved about this opportunity, with it being, not your traditional vampire film. I as the writer, coming up with, the modern day spin on this story, not just going after just the period myth. There's so much there with it being a love story and then it being the vampires, but then it's like the Greek god kind of world. So it's got this Clash of the Titans type of like environment. And so we just wanted to play with that, but we also wanted it to be not so, fantasy to where it's not, it doesn't, we didn't want it to take away from it being grounded. There are some real life issues in the plot and everything that Sarah faces, and it's just like, what anybody can understand and go through, and there's a great story along with it. There's a lot of great acting. She pulls off Sarah beautifully. I mean, a masterfully executed performance. As a director and as a scene partner, I couldn't be any happier with what she brought to the screen in front of the camera. I mean, her performance will make you laugh, cry, applaud, just amazing, and then behind the camera, I mean, the trailer that we saw, she edited, and she also helped produce the movie, script supervise, helped with the delivery of this film, and so she's MVP.
That's awesome. Speaking of which, you're the writer, the star, and the director of this movie.
Yep.
As someone who has directed and starred in a movie, it is a challenge. Did you find it to be, is this your first time directing, right?
It's my directorial debut for a feature, yeah.
For a feature, yeah. What was that like?
Well, it was, it was great. I mean, being an actor for years in Atlanta and in the Southeast, and I've met a lot of great people, crew, cast, a lot of talented individuals. I mean, Dwayne Bontrager, our DP and also producer and editor. You know, I did a lot of work with him on 48-hour film projects and stuff, and all the actors. Nobody auditioned. All of these actors were all. I gave them all an offer based on my experience working with them as an actor on other sets, and they all became my friends over the years. And based on the reels and like if I didn't know them that well, I worked on one project with them, it was brief, but everybody on this project was from my acting journey, and so it was really easy for me to. I already knew what they were made of. I already saw how they take direction from other sets, and so that part made it a lot easier for me. All same thing with the crew. I mean, with David Vilick doing, being a gaffer, and Johnny running sound, and JC. I mean, I'd worked with all of them before, and it was just a great experience. So that just made it easy for me to play and to be Ambrogio, because the trust was already there, the rapport was already there, and it was just like it just felt like a great, open collaboration each day to execute this story, and it was just it was great. I mean, and I also took a lot of time beforehand in pre-production to. I lost 40 pounds to get into the character. Did a lot of research on vampires and stuff, but also my guy's Italian. So, I mean, being around Italians, eating the food, whatever, when I am eating in the eating window, I didn't eat for 4 days a week, every single week up until shooting.
Don't try this at home.
Don't try this at home. But I had a great dialect coach, Joseph Sfregola from South Italy. Great composer. He helped me with all the Italian lines in the film, and just like, so there was a lot of research beforehand. So when I showed up on the day, I had great people. I knew what they were made of. I knew what they were going to bring to the table, and I did all this work before. So when it came to me saying action, it was just like we were just off to the races, and it was just great. It was very efficient, a very efficient film set. We shot this film in 7.5 days. We shot 19 pages in one day. How much for the whole weekend?
Don't try that at home either.
It was sufficient. As a producer, he's like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah, 32 pages a weekend, 19 pages one of those days.
32 pages in a weekend.
I'm not, as a producer, I'm not out here trying to make movies in 7 days. I give you all the props in the world. That is a challenge, and that is amazing. 32 pages in one day. But if
19
you have
in one day, 32 in 2 days.
or 32, still that's
It's still a lot.
it's a lot. If you if you have the crew, the right cast, everybody knows everybody knows what they're doing. You could, there's, and as long as the actors are fantastic, not messing up lines, and your lighting's just right, and you have an amazing director, it's possible, as you see, that you just knocked out a movie in 7 days.
If I may, I would like to add on to what you were saying to go back to your question, Dustin, about Alex as a director. Just because you've been on a lot of sets and you've worked with a lot of people does not make a great director.
True.
Right? There are a lot of people that start out writing or acting, and they have a lot of varied experiences, and they're like, hey, I want to sit in the director's chair. I want to give this a go. But that doesn't mean you have what it takes to be an effective director. There's so much that goes into it. And I say that because watching Alex throughout this process, both in front of and behind the camera, has inspired me to pursue directing as well, just because he created such a beautiful environment for collaboration and learning. And just, I think one of the benefits of starting as an actor and going into directing is what your people need in order to be successful. you know how to communicate in their language because it's also your language. You know that language. You've heard it on set for years and years in Alex's experience. And, we've both had the pleasure and displeasure, I guess you can say, of working on a variety of sets. And you asked about how do you handle doing both, the stresses of doing both. You would never know. Alex handled this entire project with such grace and such poise. And even on those days we knew we had a ton to get done and it seemed completely unrealistic to try to get all of those things done, he was so good about staying on track, and being forceful when he had to be. Like, this is the way it has to be. But he was also extremely open to collaboration and ideas throughout the entire process. He knew what his vision was. He was prepared as a director, not just what he wanted to bring to the table as the performer, but he knew exactly what he had in mind for every single shot. So he was able to play around with us behind the camera on ideas of how to do certain scenes. Because having been a producer, on the day, things change. You can be so prepared and everything go wrong. And you don't always have rain days. You don't always have backup plans or somebody that can fill in. Sometimes people get sick, people show up late. It happens. And we were very fortunate for the first few weekends of our shoots to run very smoothly and very efficiently and effectively, and it was great. And then for some reason, that last weekend, those last 2 nights that we were filming, just
the luck ran out.
Yeah, everything that could have gone wrong did, and
it was amazing.
It was a really, really, really trying experience.
We had rain, our batteries aren't charging. It was like like rain in and out. Like, yeah. It was like inconsistent. It was insane. And then
outdoor shoots, might I add.
Yeah, and fight scenes. There was fight scenes. So it was a lot of spontaneous, chess move type of decisions I had to make right then and there. And I was like, it's like we got to kind of pivot this scene a little bit.
Or move the location.
Because it's like we had this location, but we had a piece of it. I don't want to spoil it, but basically we had this great location, but we had to use a piece of it that wasn't planned, but it worked perfectly.
We had to completely change the setting of 3 scenes over the course of that weekend.
But it still makes sense, and I think in a way it makes better sense. It was really weird how I kind of unfolded, and it almost like kind of fixed some things that otherwise, it was crazy.
So you would assume first-time director of a feature, everything starts going wrong. What do you expect the reaction to be? Angry, frustrated, short with everybody.
Yep.
Not focused because we're all just exhausted and bewildered by everything going wrong. Alex was still sharp as a tack, and his performance as an actor in some of those scenes are you would never know that we hadn't slept, hadn't eaten, like we were beyond exhausted, but he brought 110% in every aspect as a creator, as a producer, as a director, and as an actor every single day. And thank you for the kind words earlier calling me the MVP of this project. But it should go without saying, but I will say anyway, that Alex was the heart of this movie. He is this movie. This is a story, as he mentioned. He's been trying to tell this story for years, because you've talked about it. He's been trying to tell this story for years. And there's so much that's going through your head just as an actor or just as a director when you're experiencing first time things like this. You don't know how to handle it, but he was just always so on the ball and so kind and patient with everybody beyond what I think my capacity would have been in his shoes. So
thank you.
He killed it is the short answer to your question of how it was to direct and act at the same time. He absolutely killed it.
As someone who has worked with Alex and has seen him on set, I agree. He is yeah, I can imagine. Now, with it raining, all I'm thinking are these fight scenes are now happening in the rain.
No, they did not.
No, that's awesome.
Well, technically, I'm not gonna say it, but
No, that's awesome. It is, yeah, it is a challenge. It's a challenge making movies, y'all. It really is. And to go from idea to script to actually filming it and then it be in the can is one hell of a journey. And Alex, I'm for the both of you, I'm excited. For the both of you, this is awesome. I can't wait to see this movie. It's seems like it's
these
gonna be magic. And that's awesome. What's next for the both of you?
ladies first.
Oh boy. Am I talking about the thing in August? Or are we not talking about the thing in August?
Uh, I mean, the director's not here. I mean, we're producers
Yes.
of it.
Yes. So I'll let you talk about that one.
So,
But as I mentioned earlier, I was inspired to start my own directorial journey through this entire process. And I had been working on a feature-length script with a friend of mine for a little over a year. And the script is currently in the festival circuit and doing very well. We've gotten some really, really positive responses. And we found out a couple weeks ago that it had been accepted into the Beverly Hills Film Festival, which we looked at some of the people that have been at that festival over the years and we're absolutely blown away that we're
yes.
included amongst some of the greats to be recognized for our screenplay. So we are planning on shooting a proof of concept for that at the end of August, and I will be directing the proof of concept. So I'm very stoked about that. He and I will also be co-leading that project as well. It's called Whatever It Takes. I won't say too much about it because we'll be doing some big announcements in the next few weeks here. So stay tuned for more on that.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. I love it when someone decides they get that twinkle in their eye and they're like, this is what I'm doing now. This is what I'm it's the same thing happened to me. I tried to be an actor, it didn't work out for me. But I saw the process. I saw the directors and what they were doing. I saw, everyone doing what they were doing. Then I saw the producers and I was like, now hold on a minute. That seems more of what I want to do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And then then you do it and you're like, yep, this is it, this is what I want to do. And that's awesome. I love that. I can't wait to see what y'all do next. This is awesome. All right, y'all, thanks for joining us. Ambrogio is gonna be out here and we get to watch the first vampire. Y'all, thanks for joining me. Y'all join me next week. You can check this episode, it'll be out this Friday on Spotify and on YouTube. And yeah, y'all, thank you for joining me on Hollywood Hangouts. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Angelina. You guys are fantastic. Hopefully, you guys will come back and do another episode of Hollywood Hangouts. All right, y'all, keep it real.